I'm Addison. I'm the program manager of the Quick Suite Learning Series, and we're going to be talking today about getting started with Agentic AI with Quick Automate inside Amazon Quick Suite. Our two presenters today are going to be Zuhair, who's a senior solutions architect on the Amazon Quick Suite team, and we also have Ian Crook, who's a technical engineer with AWS. And to briefly just cover the agenda, first, we're going to just generally talk about what is Amazon Quick Suite, and then I'm going to pass it over to Ian. He is going to cover a quick automate overview, and then we're going to do a capabilities demonstration with Zuhair, who will show you a hands-on demo within the product. So if you aren't aware what Amazon Quick Suite is, up here I posted our vision for the product. So the vision for Amazon Quick is that it is a set of agentic teammates that help you to quickly answer your questions from both your unstructured and your structured data, as well as your third-party applications, so that it can help you turn those answers into actions. And so what exactly does that mean? So say you have a ton of data inside siloed documentation, PowerPoints, data sets that you want to aggregate into one place so that you can have a unified experience when you're asking questions and getting insights. That's exactly what Amazon Quick is and allows you to take those insights from your third-party applications, your unstructured and structured data, and then turn that into actions through our various agents, which we've covered in the past. Today, we'll be focusing on Quick Automate, and you can even take actions inside third-party applications as well. So say that you have something inside of a Salesforce, Asana, Jira, ServiceNow, or a Microsoft 365, you're able to do that all within Amazon Quick. And so this is kind of what it looks like here. This screen is going to show you the homepage of what that looks like. And this is a general overview. So like I said, Amazon Quick Suite allows you to bring multiple different types of agents to act as your agentic teammates. It helps you get the right answers to help you make smarter decisions within your data and your context. And it helps you to take actions with the help of the agentic teammates that you have within Amazon Quick. And since it's built on AWS, all of this context is staying secure and private inside of your environment. It is not trained on outside resources, or sorry, it's not trained to train outside models. It's all going to stay within your environment directly to the people that you provision access to. All right, and so with that, that is the overview of the product, and I'm going to go ahead and now pass it over to Ian, who's going to talk to us more about Quick Automate.
So let's start with the reality that enterprises face today. Organizations run on dozens of applications that don't necessarily communicate with each other. Each of these systems holds critical business data, but they exist in these silos. This fragmentation creates massive operational challenges. Excuse me. When you need to process an order, onboard an employee, or handle a customer claim, the data required spans multiple disconnected systems. There's no unified view, no automated handoffs, no intelligent coordination between these applications. So what happens when applications don't talk to each other? People become the glue holding it all together. Your employees manually log into the CRM to check the customer details, then switch to the ERP to verify inventory. Then they open their ticketing system to create a case. Then they return back to the CRM to update that record, and they're just copying data between systems, reconciling information across platforms, and acting as a human integration middleware. And the result is their productivity suffers dramatically. Instead of focusing on strategic work that serves customers and drives business value, they're stuck doing this repetitive data entry and systems navigation. So the answer is automation. But it's complex. Automation solves some of the integration problem, but the automation tools themselves create new complexity. To automate a single business process today, you have to navigate a maze of different technologies. Low-code platforms for building apps, data integration tools to connect these systems, document processing, machine learning services for intelligent decisions, APIs, RPA for UI automation, LLMs for natural language. Each new technology requires specialized skills, separate vendors in a lot of ways, different platforms, and complex integration work. IT teams need to spend months figuring out which tools to use, get them approved, get funding, then more months integrating them, and then more time maintaining these connections between them, especially if they're bespoke. This complexity and the communications may reduce some of the responsibilities of individuals, but that's only if you're on top of it constantly. Otherwise, your workforce is having to double check the work your automation is supposed to be saving them from doing. So, where does QuickSuite come in? And specifically, where does Quick Automate? Quick Automate has 6 categories of things that help with this problem. First, we have agents, where they excuse me, where Quick Automate uses specialized AI agents that work together. The planning agent converts your business's natural language process to automation. The UI agent handles self-adapting browser automation, and adjusts to interface changes. Uh, and custom agents execute your specific business logic with Amazon Bedrock. Going into Amazon Bedrock, it's Quick Automate integrates with AWS services. I would hope so, because it's the name of the service, including things like S3, Bedrock, Lambda, Textract, and Comprehend, and enables you to leverage foundation models for your intelligent decision making and extract data from these unstructured documents. There is API automation, where Quick Automate provides anywhere around 200 plus pre-configured integrations with enterprise applications. Some examples like Salesforce, ServiceNow, SAP, and Microsoft 365. Plus the ability to build custom connectors for proprietary systems using REST APIs. Then Quick Automate also orchestrates intelligently complex workflows with human-in-the-loop capabilities for critical decision, systematic case management for exceptions, and coordinated multi-step processes across multiple systems with parallel execution. And this is a big deal because we're not just saying, all right, AI, do your thing, and then we'll just accept the output. We're making sure that people are involved in these steps, and there's a way to track how people are involved in these steps. So there's so that there's a process you can build for it. Uh, Quick Automate works with any data source, processing both structured and specifically unstructured data, extracting information from documents and enabling seamless data flow between agents and actions across enterprise systems. And finally, Quick Automate delivers production-ready automation with fully managed serverless infrastructure, consumption-based pricing, enterprise governance, including role-based access controls and audit logging, as well as comprehensive security with responsible AI guardrails and full SDLC support. So, how does Quick Automate, I talked about all these features, how does it actually solve the challenges that were brought up before? Can really kind of be talked about in 5 key capabilities. One, it's easy to build and maintain. Create automations using natural language or process documentation. AI generates workflows automatically, and it reduces development time from weeks to days. Uh, 2, agents automate dynamic tasks. Multi-agent architecture with planning agents, UI agents, and custom agents, as well as the 200 plus built-in integrations with Salesforce, ServiceNow, SAP, all these other integrations that I talked about before. You can have them all functioning within your workflow. Number 3, enterprise governance is role-based access controls, audit logging, version control with instant rollback. And again, human in the loop for critical decisions with complete execution visibility. 4 is fully managed. It's fully managed. It's serverless. It's scalable because it's serverless. There is zero infrastructure management. You do not have to worry about whether you're using the CDK, Terraform, getting all this stuff figured out. Like all of this runs in the background when you set it up. There is automatic scaling with AWS grade reliability, and a focus on building automations, not managing infrastructure. And 5 is consumption-based pricing. You only pay for the automation that runs. There are no upfront costs or long-term commitments. It is very transparent with clear return on investment measurements. But, I've talked about this high level. Um, Jihar, can you show me how you build an automation?
Okay, so I'll walk you through how to build an automation with Quick Automate, and we'll follow this demo scenario. We'll build an automation which uses AI agents to process or handle emails. We'll have them analyze the content of the emails, perform a classification or a triage, and escalate for a human in the loop task. If it's unsure of the classification. So now I'm pivoting to the product landing page. So this is the Quick Suite landing page. Now, in order to use the automations capabilities, we'll click on the automations tab here. And you'll notice there are a couple of tabs at the top. We'll go through each as I develop here. But for now, let's start with building our automation. So if you see, we have projects and groups. So projects contain your automations, which are your workflows. And these are arranged into groups, which is just a logical grouping. Now, let's create a group for this demo. Let's just call it live demo. You can provide a description, click next here, and you can also add your actions using the various integrations that Ian had mentioned. We'll be using an integration I have already configured to an inbox for the email purposes. We'll skip credentials. And now you see that we have created our automation group. So now we will go ahead and create a project. Name this as live demo project. You can also provide a description. And at this point, if you had a document which described a process in natural language, you could upload that at this stage. For the purpose of this demo, I'll walk you through how to use the visual tools here to create an automation, but you could also upload a document with natural language at this stage. We'll click on Start Building. There are a couple of samples that you could use. I would highly recommend you to try those when you test on your own, but we'll skip this for now. Now, this is the canvas for building your automations. You can also use AI to support you using the assistant here on the right-hand side, but for today's demo, I will close that. So your automation is arranged in steps. Our automation today will be a simple one. It'll just include 3 steps. And you see on the left-hand side, we have our actions. These are the building blocks for building automations, and each action performs a specific task. So we'll start by first, we'll provide this description. So we will first set up some configuration variables. And then we will perform another step where we will retrieve the emails from the inbox to process. And then we'll do a third step where we will perform the triaging, or we'll classify the emails with a custom agent. All right. So now let's go through build out these steps one by one. We'll start with the first one. All we'll do here is we will store the values for our emails to process, or rather the inbox to use for this demo. We will open the expression editor here, and I'll paste the email. And this will be our, we'll call it sender email. So what this means is we will retrieve emails from the inbox of this email. And you'll see for each action, you can define a title so that because this is a visual tool, so it's easy to read and follow. And you can also define an output variable here so that when this data is stored in this variable, you can access it in subsequent steps. Now, similarly to the sender email, I'll duplicate this because we also want to have an email address defined to receive emails. So I'll call this we'll call it receiver email, and I will define the same name as the output of this action. For the purpose of this demo, we'll keep them as the same. It'll just be easier to show you those emails being received. All right, so we have stored two variables here for the emails to process. Now, how do we retrieve the emails to process? Now you'll see if I was to, if you remember when we created the automation group, I added the Outlook connector for this automation group. What that means now is that if I was to search here for Outlook, you'll see that we now have all of these actions available to process. So what we'll do is instead of dragging and dropping those individually, what we'll do is we'll use one of our agents here. So we have a UI agent, which is used for performing browser tasks. And then we have a custom agent, which we can use in this stage. So I'll drag that here. Now, these are the different configuration options that you can have to configure this custom agent. The first one is perhaps the most obvious one is you can provide it with an instruction or a prompt. So we will instruct it here. I have this copied here. So we'll instruct it to list the emails in a specific folder from the inbox for the email. And you can see we referenced the sender email that we had defined in the previous step. And you'll see if you wanted to include it here, you would, if you wanted to add, more variables, for example, you can just add a plus and add these variables directly from the expression into the expression editor. And we'll only include the subject and body from those emails. There's also other metadata that's returned using the Outlook APIs. All right, so I have clicked save here. You can select the mode. These are, again, managed model offerings. You will select those based on the complexity of the activity or the reasoning capabilities that you require. We will select Pro for today. And we will now provide this agent with the relevant tools for it to perform the task that we asked it to do. You'll see that the create user task is pre-selected. We'll unselect that. And now if we go to our Outlook options of actions, we'll provide the agent with the list mail folders so that it can identify the folder that we asked it to use, and then list folder message so that it can list the messages or the emails within that folder. And we'll click on save here. Now, for those of you who have used agents in the past or LLMs, one of the common difficulties is to define the output to be structured. Usually you have to write long prompts to define a specific JSON structure, for example. In this case, in this configuration properties panel, you can actually define quite a varied options, a number of different options for the output. In this case, since we'll have a number of emails, I will create this as a list, and we will call this our email list. And then you can define in natural language what you intend this output to be about. So we'll write a list of emails here. And we'll have this, we can choose different types. We'll leave the each email to be stored as a string here. And we defined it to be the email subject and body. So we'll define that here as well. And now we'll click on save. So we've defined the instruction, we provided the agent with the tools, and we've defined the output so that subsequent steps can consume this. The last thing we'll do is we'll assign it to a variable. So we'll call this the retrieved emails. Okay. Now let's go to our third step, and you can see this is auto-saving. You can see on the top right as we are developing here, so that you don't lose progress. So now that we've defined this agent, we'll have a list of emails to process. So if you notice on the left-hand side, we have an option to loop through variables. I will select that. And specifically, paste this here. We will loop through the email list from the retrieved emails variable, which is defined as the output from the previous step. And for each loop, we will reference that email. So I'll define that as this variable as email. And we want to perform that classification, so we're going to need another agent. So I will drag another agent here. Now let me paste the prompt that we'll use here. So given this email, a string which contains the subject and the body, we'll instruct the agent to analyze the email and classify it. We've defined two classes here. It could be payroll or tax. But if uncertain, then instead of providing or using its reasoning to provide a classification of its own, which it can do, we'll instruct it to escalate to a human. Now what that means is it can use, and we'll use the probe mode again. What that means is we'll allow it, or we'll provide it with the create user task tool so that it can create a human in the loop task. And you see we don't have any other tools defined here. Now let's define the structured output here. We'll add, we can add two fields here. One can be the category, and this is the classification result. And let's add one more. We can also provide the reasoning, so a brief explanation for the classification, the class selected, or rather, let's say the category selected. Right? I'll click on save here. And so now that we have defined this, let's also define the output variable for at the end here. So this will be our classification result, which will contain these two variables. Now, the next thing we want to do is define the content. For the purpose of this demo, we'll keep it simple. We'll just assign a static value. So in this case, we can just return a string of the classification result that we defined in this step. So this will be our email content. I'll assign the title appropriately. And lastly, let's send the email as well. So in this case, since we are just going to perform a deterministic step, we don't need to use an agent here. We can use the send email action. And over here, we'll have to select the connector to use in this case. For the user ID, we've defined the sender email that we will use to send the email. And finally, we have to define the contents of that email. So we'll need let's add a body here. In the content, we'll use the email content that we defined. This is a text. Let's define the subject, right? So let's have a simple string here. Again, you could define these using agents as well. And the to recipient. So who will we send it to? We have the receiver email or recipient email defined in step 1. And we'll click on save. Okay, now that we've completed the authoring of this 3-step automation, let's go ahead and start testing. So to test, we have an option to debug here. Optionally, you could also introduce breakpoints. We won't do that for this demo. I'll go ahead and click on debug, which will execute this automation end to end. And what you'll see is that the execution logs will start to populate here on the right hand of the screen. And you can see that it is organized by the steps. So we can see that step 1 was completed successfully. Now it's running step 2. You can see that the agent trace logs are also shown here. So it's currently parsing the very detailed API responses that contain information about the messages in the specific online demo folder, and it's extracting the subject and the body. Okay, so it's completed step 2. Now we have we're looping through the different emails. We have 3 emails for this demo. Once it completes executing, I'll show you that in as well. Okay, so it's looped through the first email. It assigned a category for tax. Remember, we have payroll and tax as the 2 options. Now you see that it's created a human in the loop task and has paused its execution here. So let me click here to see what task it created. I'll just assign a filter so we only see the open tasks. So it's created this task for us. All right, so it's analyzed an email about a company's softball team signups. So this is clearly not related to payroll or tax, as the agent has clearly mentioned. So since it's escalated to the human, we will say classify as, let's say, team sport. Now that we've given this feedback, it'll take this data, mark the task as complete, which is why it's removed from this view. If you go back to our tab, it's continued its execution where it left off. So you can see that this team sport category that we provided The agent has now selected that category. All right, so it's completed the execution for all the 3 emails. Let's go ahead and go to the tab here. So we see the 3 emails have come here. Before I go through the output, let me show you the folder that we had instructed the agent to parse. So we have 3 emails, one that has been designed to be classified as the tax category, one that has clear relations to paychecks, making it related to payroll. And this is the 3rd email, which is not really related to payroll or taxes. It's related to a company softball team, which would, as we expect, trigger the human in the loop task that we completed. Now, these are the 3 emails that were sent, one for each of those. And from what we saw in the logs, that it assigned a category and the reason for each one of those emails, and the team sport being what we provided from the human in the loop task. So we're happy with the performance during this test run. Now let's commit this version. The version will be assigned. I can give a version note and commit this version. Okay, so now that we've committed this, we can now even deploy this version. We can select the version to deploy. And if I click next here, it'll ask to confirm who the resolver should be for the human in loop task. I'll assign myself. We'll also confirm the integrations to use. In this case, we only have one, so we'll select that one. All right, so now we have a deployed version for this automation, and now we'll create a trigger. We'll call this the demo daily trigger, and we can assign, select the scheduling options here. You can also select parallel executions that are required as well, and click on create. So now we've deployed, we've committed the automation, we've deployed it, and we've created a trigger for it as well, a daily trigger. So now, if we wanted to talk about post-deployment options for monitoring automations, again, coming to the landing page for automations, and I'll go to the Monitor tab now. And since we ran a test run, we'll select Test. We'll select the Runs tab as well. And you can see this is the completed run that was just performed. And I've zoomed in a little. I'll come all the way here to the right. We'll click on View Run Logs. And here you can see we have access to the same logs that we saw during the real-time execution of this run. So for auditing purposes, you have access to the execution logs, the agent trace logs for all of the automation runs, whether it's whether it's a test run or even from a deployed automation.